Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, it's been confirmed we've got a ×2 event this weekend for Void Shards. What does that mean? It means that the chances to pull Void Epics and Void Legendaries go up double. 16% chance to get yourself an Epic, 1% chance to get yourself a Legendary. It's still slim, but it's twice as good as it normally is. This is the time where you normally pull your Void Shards if you want to get yourself some good champions, okay? This video, we're going to rate all Void champions. Real quick and dirty rating of all Void champions. However, let me just come back to a video I put out a couple of days ago. I put out this video. Go and check it out if you've not seen it. Do this fusion prep now. And that video, I talk about saving shards for this fusion. If you have any sort of chance of fusing the new legendary dwarf, I still advise for you to save your shards for 2 more weeks and give yourself the best possible chance to get that legendary, because I think he's super cool. I think it's going to help a lot of accounts. But if you're a brand new player and you've got no chance of getting yourself a new fusion champion, or if you've got literally no patience, which I guess is at least 50% of people that play this game, this is the best time to pull your shards. So let me help you out by telling you whether I think they're good or not. I've actually been free to play, believe it or not, for a full month. It's the first month ever since I started playing this game that I've played free to play. I mean, I'm kind of like semi free to play because I don't need a load of stuff anyway, but it's certainly interesting because normally any 2 times event I'm pulling shards, any kind of decent event I'm pulling shards just because, you know what, I buy more stuff. But at the moment in my brain, I'm like, I could hold on. Things like I've got fragment stuff ready to go. I'm holding on to pull that sort of stuff for when the next fusion comes along. So let's do this then. All champions reviewed. Starting with rares then, and we'll start with Bannerlords. Chevalier, I mean, he's got a little bit of control with stuns and stuff like that, but basically average to bad champion. He's defense based, he can stay alive. As at a push at level 50 for faction wars, he's okay. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother. Vanguard, kind of similar really. Weak source defense, down. Wouldn't bother with this guy. Steadfast Marshal, not a fan. He's kind of high HP, tanky and stuff like that, but again, not really a great champion. Dagger. Dagger actually is pretty cool. Super sweet skin. Why is she cool? She's got AoE decreased defense. If you book it, 75% chance for it to land. If you don't, it's a 50. If you don't have a decreased defense champion in this faction, then she should be in your faction war team. She's basically like War Maiden with this decreased defense, but she also brings a decreased attack debuff, which makes her better for boss fights, worse for wave content when you're going through waves of enemies. War Maiden better because she does 100% chance to decrease defense and you can book her for free, whereas Dagger's only 50 if you don't book her out. But decent champion and the best of the rares by a long way. Okay, onto the epics. Rowan, I think she badly needs another buff. Average to bad champion. I definitely would not invest my time in Rowan. She's actually the only Void champion that does a bunch of poisons, but the rest of her kit doesn't really synergize with what she's doing. She's got a kit which looks like it should be Fire Knight based. But she's got this weak ass defense level. And she doesn't even hit that hard when you get her built. Average to bad. Azure, just a meat shield really. Tank, got a stun, got ally protection, which is nice for faction wars. He hits okay levels, nothing too crazy. I would say I wouldn't invest massively in this guy myself. Next one up, Warcaster. Warcaster's kind of average. He's got a chance to steal some buffs. He's got block buffs, AoE, which is actually good. Extremely good for faction wars. But the main thing about him is he brings block damage. This is not a great skill, generally. It goes on for 1 turn. Unless you are so good at speed chaining your teams, you make it work all the time, which 99.9% of people are not, then this just drops off a whole bunch of champions before it has any effect. And you know what? It's on a 6-turn cooldown unless you book it. If you book it, it's on a 4-turn cooldown. You don't really get any value out of it. The only place this is super cool is on Clan Boss if you're doing an unkillable team. And in that sense, it's a great skill and he's one of the best champions in the game because unkillable teams are kind of busted. So, that's where he's used. And if you need him for that, then great pull. Right, on to legendaries then. Raglin. She's like an old school legendary, right? There's nowhere where she's not amazing in the game. But she doesn't bring really any damage. And she does some weird stuff like... what's she do weird? Maybe doesn't do weird stuff, actually. She's got a triple hit here. She's got a cleanse. She's actually super good for something like Agref in Doom Tower. She's very good for general arena control teams, arena teams where you're looking to go second perhaps, and you want to keep your team alive with and cleansed. She's got a full team cleanse. She's got a full team heal. She's got a revive with full turn meter. Single target, can book it to 2 turns, which is kind of busted. But I feel like she's fallen behind a lot of legendaries right now. Don't feel like she's really got her place in the meta. But she can slip her way into any team in any area of the game. So if you get her and you're like a mid-game account, she's probably in all your teams. But I have her, and she doesn't sit in any of my teams as an endgame player. And I don't really see her in the endgame at all. So, yeah, shame really. But she is a very good champion. Baron. Hardest hitting AoE skill in the game. Very shiny armor. Beautifully long stave thing here. That's the free... Oh, no. And he's got this kind of griffin type thing on his hat. 4 great things about Baron. There's a lot of terrible ones. One thing which I learned quite recently, which is actually very cool. A2, places decreased defense. This buff is guaranteed. I don't know if anyone else has got this language for their abilities, by the way. This buff is guaranteed. If the Fire Knight's got his shield on, it still lands. If you're against a negative affinity, it still lands. It happens. This goes on. You don't need accuracy for it. It's going to happen. So this is actually pretty cool. Also, on Spider, if you're trying to make sure you've got 100% team. Now, anyone who does decreased defense that doesn't have this language has actually got a 3% chance that their decreased defense, I think Ghostborn's the only other one, 3% chance that it's not going to land. Baron is 100% chance. So bear that in mind. That's actually pretty cool. He's got his A1, which can smack people really hard. He's got an A3, which can hurt someone pretty hard. But the main thing is unlocking Skypiercer and any nukes. The trouble is, it takes so damn long to do it sometimes that everyone else is dead and he's wondering why he's only got this kind of shiny hat. So anyway, Baron, he's kind of just... I wish his Skypiercer was more guaranteed. I wish you could increase the percentages of some of these, maybe. I don't know. It just feels like it's tune the damage down a touch and increase the chances would be better for me. High Elves then. In terms of the rares, Interceptor, bang average, wouldn't bother. Reliquary Tender, damn good. Really strong. Her value has shot up as well, I think, with the requirement of healing for some of the new Doom Tower bosses coming out. She comes into the teams against someone like Agref as a really strong contender of one of the better champions in the game. So yeah, generally good for just keeping your team alive, supporting your team through general content. Onto the epics, Battle Sage, decent champion, mainly used in the arena because she's got this ability on her A2 which puts a buff on you and then cleanses your team, and the buff can't be removed. Why it's good is because if you're going to get someone like a Tormund, you buff first, then you cleanse, and then your team can go. If you do it the other way around, cleanse then buff, you've got a chance to be frozen after the cleanse. So it's actually quite a good order. Good arena, good all battle speed. AoE A1, it's okay. Revive on death is okay as well. So I'd say an average epic, but in the right situation, pretty strong, certainly in the arena. Exemplar, just pure trash. Blatantly needs a buff. Let's go on to legendaries. Ethos, smacks, super cool champion. One of the top tier damage dealers in the game. 2 massive swinging AoE hits, and then a big old single target hitting A1 as well. He's got low defense. He's quite hard to keep alive if you get him taking hits. He's one of the few champions that can solo farm Nightmare campaign, right through 12-6, no problem. Just needs a crazy amount of damage, but he is extremely good. He will be your AoE arena nuker if you don't have Chunder. Belenar, kind of risen in the ranks, I guess, because of the unkillable teams. He comes in as a really good champion for an unkillable team, mainly because he can put crit on the team. He puts decreased defense and weaken on a single target, and he just smacks. He just smacks really hard. So good champion, good base stats as well, but it's all kind of single target stuff. So outside of that unkillable clan boss team, I don't see him used a lot. Arbiter, we should all know Arbiter. She's one of the mission champions, super strong in like 99.9% of arena teams. She's got speed up. She's got a fast base speed. Great legendary champion. Sacred Order then. What have we got here? Confessor. She confesses. She is trash. Justiciar. He brings the justice. That's about all he brings. And this rather awesome haircut. Harrier. Damn. He sings well. He's a great singer. And Draconis actually good. So Draconis has got heals. He's got shields. The shield books down to a 3-turn cooldown, which is actually really strong. A lot of people use him in Scarab Boss. And he's got kind of single target cleanse. He's a straight support champion. Don't bother building damage on him. But, I mean, he gets a bit more healing for damage on his A1. But I wouldn't build damage on him. I'd build him fast. And I'd get those shields and heals recycling back as quick as possible. Onto epics. Cardinal, great for faction wars. She's got a full team revive, and she revives their turn meter to max, which means they definitely get a turn. It's very cool. She gives them a little bit of health, but this is the only champion that does a full team turn meter to max. Very cool. She also brings increased defense for a single target and a bit of healing, a bit of poison as well, but she's mainly about this revive. Some people have used her in Clan Boss if you're earlier game, just to keep your team running. But mainly she's used in Faction Wars, and she's used in Arena for a go second team. You expect your team to die, you build them very slow, you build her as an absolute unit, a tank, and reasonably quick. And what will happen is, and build her with some resistance if you can, everyone else falls down, she gets a turn, she pops them all back up on their feet, they all get a turn, and they wipe out the enemy. Pretty cool. Lightsworn, generally good unit, good champ. Very high base defense, one of the highest for an epic. Good base speed, triple hit A1. He's good in Fire Knight. He's kind of good for Clan Boss as well. You can book his A2 down to a 3-turn cooldown, which means that he can be your decreased attack champion. Don't forget though, there's still that 3% chance he's not going to land it, and that means your team goes bye-byes. He's got increased defense, revive on death. He's kind of like a support unit. He does reasonable amounts of damage, but not tons. I used to use him in my Fire Knight team. I used to use him in my Ice Golem team as well. And for a while, he was in my Spider team as just like a increased defense and decreased attack and decreased speed champion. So he's actually pretty versatile. His A1 drops a bit of turn meter as well. Yeah, solid champion. Inquisitor Shamal. Now, his value, I think, has just risen through the roof. Only 2 abilities, so only one ability that can go on cooldown, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown. I think he's going to be super good against the new dragon that's coming out in Doom Tower. He's already extremely strong for Doom Tower for waves. So he just smacks people with this A2, ignores a bunch of defense as well, and then fears people when he kills stuff, and he kills stuff easy. He's got very high multipliers. Decent A1 as well. Cool passive, filling turn meter, and keeping your team out of fears and true fears. Very good champion. Godseeker and Eerie, also extremely good. So a bit of healing on our A1, AoE on our A2 with some more healing. Also increasing your buffs, decreasing enemy buffs. It's very cool for Faction Wars. Very cool for Doom Tower and any content where people are throwing out a lot of buffs. Also can be tuned into a Clan Boss team to improve your buff duration, decrease the Clan Boss's increase attack, potentially. And then she's got this revive as well. 50% HP, 50% turn meter, and resets cooldowns. Very cool. Passive as well, bit of extra healing, And if someone's going to die, gives them a revive on death. It's on quite a long cooldown, 4 turns if you book it. But decent, very good base stats, good champion. Okay, on to legendaries then. We've got 3 here. So Nick, top draw, best HP base champion in the game, hardest hitting at least, AoE hits, and he smacks big old shields on your team as well. I've got him. I use him in Doom Tower wave clears, actually. I was using him in Spider for a while. Generally good. It's got an unkillable ability, which makes him viable for unkillable teams from Clan Boss. Ideally for that, as it stands right now, you actually don't want to book the cooldown on this A2. He prioritizes his A2 over his A3, which makes it a bit of a nightmare to speed tune. Venus, one of the best, mainly because she's got so much in her kit. AoE, decrease defense and weaken. AoE, HP burn. Poisons. And then a bit of extra damage, a bit of extra utility if you've got Cupidus as well. Crazy base speed, great base stats. Any AoE decrease defense and weaken champion is just top tier, basically. And she's Void as well, so she doesn't care about the opponents. She's just great. Cardiel, probably one of my most wanted champions in the game. Firstly, he looks badass. Looks so cool. Apparently, actually, someone said to me, he's on Aniri's shield. Yeah, he is, yeah. That's actually really cool. I wish they'd do a bit more with the lore on this type of stuff. Why? Is this his mum? Is this his mum? Did he come from her womb? That's what we want to know. But anyway, super cool looking. Yeah, this dude actually reminds me a bit of the blue guy from Watchmen for some reason. And he's got the same sort of stance, same sort of abs. But yeah, super cool champion. A1, heals all allies, very good. Places True Fear on a target if it's from a certain faction. It's kind of decent A1. A2, I love. Full cleanse, then puts block debuffs out there and a revive on death, and you can't remove the revive on death. It's really annoying to play against in the arena because of this ability, but super cool to play with anywhere in the game because of that as well. He's got increased crit rate, increased crit damage, and then his whole team come in for a smack. Means you can build people with 70% crit rate and just do silly amounts of damage. Decreases the cooldown of this skill if an enemy is killed. It's just so good. You should be killing people with this skill if you're in general content. And if you're using him for Clan Boss, well done. You've got yourself a great team. He's got a passive as well. Allies take less damage from these certain factions. And if he's with Cecilia, then yeah, things just kick off. But super cool champion. Speed in all battles. Great base stats. On my most wanted list, for sure. Okay, let's go into Barbs. Barbarian rares. Skirmisher. Skirmishers alone. The Orcs actually hits a bit hard, but it's all single target, rubbish decreased defense. Not worth it. Ragemonger. Look at the rage, guys. Terrible champ. Well, not terrible, just average to bad. Bit of weak source poison. Give him a proper poison. Give him a bit more. He needs a bit more. Not good enough. Scrapper. Oh yeah. Likes to sing with Harrier. Does bring some shieldage. I've seen people, I think Stu's done a video on him doing Scarab Boss solo. It was pretty much built solely for Scarab Boss. Look at it. Shields everywhere. Decrease max HP. Void Affinity as well. Decent champion for that. Otherwise, I can't see why people would build him out. Let's go on to the epics then. Harken. I've got Harken. I keep meaning to get time to do a video on her. I will do soon. I think she's really good. She hits hard. She's got really good multipliers. Places an extra hit if she gets a crit. Well, you want her with crit because she hits hard, so that should be working. A2 gives you a weaken as well. A single target, though. This is really what's cool here. A3, spread debuffs. So if you've got someone who puts an HP burn on the spider, she hits her with the A3, and she's going to spread those HP burns everywhere. La, you've got yourself a AoE HP burn. But yeah, takes so applies debuff spread, taking 2 random debuffs from the target and placing them everywhere. Also extends the duration of those debuffs for 2 turns. It's really good. Yeah, so that A3 is what she's all about, and she does hit very hard with it. And then she's got Doom Tower abilities as well. But for a single target hitter, she's actually got some decent utility. So why Firstborn? She does bring decreased defense. She brings a weaken as well. She hits pretty hard. I've seen her in unkillable clan boss teams, and she does a decent job of it. She's got this A1, attacks all enemies with a second hit if it's a crit, but they're normal hits. If this was attacks all enemies with the second hit if it's a crit and it deals 80% of the damage, she would be quality. But because it's a normal hit, it's weak source, it's no point. So I don't see her used outside of clan boss unkillable teams, and even then there's better champions now that bring more. Sky Touched, decent champion, pretty chilly as we've said before, but yeah, AoE A1 is kind of cool. She's got a passive which kind of heals your team. You can keep the team topped up with this pretty well. She does place fears on herself. You've got to be careful of her own kind of abilities, but she is decent. Removes all debuffs from all allies, then places Revive on death and block debuff on all allies. So full cleanse, and then she keeps people alive and she keeps debuffs off. Just means that she's viable in loads of places because we're always getting debuffs on us. We don't like them. We want to get rid. She gets rid of them pretty well. So yeah, Sky Touch, decent champ. Onto the legendaries then. Turvold, hardest hitting champion. Or was actually. No, he's not anymore. Jin Toro beat him in a setup that I did. But he's one of them anyway. One of the hardest hitters. Super fun. He's got a wicked sword. I still want him. He's a bit niche. He's hard to make work because you need a bunch of buffs on him. I've done a few videos though. Actually, I did a video because of Ian K, who's a regular in my stream, and he used 2 Turvolds in a clan boss team and unkillable team. It was ridiculous. It was disgusting. But yeah, he hits like a truck, 400k swings with this A3, sorry. But you need a ton of buffs and you need a ton of damage on him. Asurga, Wardcaller, great champion, major support unit, block cooldown skills here, bunch of debuffs that can go out depending on your enemies here, and ally protection and strengthen. Strengthen's the strongest buff in the game, goes on for 3 turns, so yeah, it's pretty cool. She ally protects everyone else, she strengthens herself, and then decreases the damage all allies receive from crits by 30%. If it stopped there, this would be the best defensive unit in the game. But the trouble is she takes that damage instead, and that hurts a lot. So often she kind of sits herself down, which is a shame. But decent champion. Yeah, good champion. Yakal the Scourge. Everyone wanted him to swing like an absolute beast. He's actually a support champion more than a damage dealer. So he's got freezes here. He's got freezes again, turn meter steal. He's got triple hit here, freezes, blah, blah, blah. Attacks all enemies except the initial target after the 3rd hit, which is good. You'd expect it to be a big one, but it's a bit lackluster. And because he's basically a support unit that's freezing everyone, it means that you need to build him with high accuracy, which means you lose stats in your attack, which means even more so he does less damage. So yeah, his kit's just a bit wonky for me. Like, he's close to being obscene. He's actually underwhelming because his kit's wonky. The stat requirements all over the place. He's hard to build. So if you get him and you're like a mid-game player, you're probably going to use him everywhere. But I don't see him used at all beyond that. Okay, let's move on to the Ogres. The Ogryn Tribes. Man-Eater, probably the highest valued champion in the whole game. It's a shame, really, that a Void Epic is the highest valued champion in the game, but he is. You get yourself 2 Man-Eaters, and the clan boss is a joke. It's a joke to you. Unkillable and block debuffs. This is what he's all about. 5-turn unkillable. The major brains of the community have made it work so that we can get unkillable teams working, which work for Brutal, Nightmare, Ultra Nightmare if you've got 2 of these guys. They certainly work for Ultra Nightmare if you've just got 1 and a Painkeeper. So that's what makes him so good. Outside of that, he's actually good. Decrease attack always lands if you get a crit. AoE. Fully steals turn meter. And block debuffs. All of those skills are good for anywhere in the game. So he's not just a clan boss champion, which is what generally happens. You get someone who's super good for clan boss. They're normally average to weak outside of it. He's not. He's really good right across the game. Towering Titan. Just needs a buff, really. Average kit. not great damage multipliers. Nothing special about this guy. Prundar, one of the new guys, he's just an absolute tank. That's all he is. He doesn't have a lot of damage. He's got an okay debuff here, decreased speed. He's got provoke, and then he's got strengthen. When he gets hit, he takes less damage as well. He's just a unit, like literally like that. Come at me. That's all he's got. Hopefully you build people around him that can do stuff. But yeah, he's a unit. And then onto the only legendary for this faction. Really strong. Gergo, the Angar, one of the best arena champions for control in the game. AoE freeze. If you book it, 100% chance to land, and he gets another turn. If he's taking hits, he's got a chance to freeze the attackers. He can be a bit squishy. You can also build him to be an absolute nuke, by the way, and one-shot people, no problem. But yeah, you want high accuracy, high speed. Ideally, he should go second champion in your arena team, and he locks out the full enemy team. Very good. Lizardmen then. What we got here? Only one rare. He's one of the better rares, I guess. Haruspex, Speed Aura. Great for early game. Bit of poison. A bit of turn meter fill and increased speed. It's weak source, but it's better than nothing. And then a revive. Great for this faction, for faction wars. He actually runs in my... I think he's still in my in-game faction war team. I certainly ran him in my level 21 team for the revive. Because the boss in this faction is the hardest boss, I think, for faction wars. But yeah, good champion, good base stats. Broadmoor, again, really just a faction war champion. You can fuse him. If you're struggling with this faction for faction wars, he brings a 2-team member revive, which again is good for faction wars. And he brings the same, it's basically like Haruspex, but a slight upgrade. So otherwise, average. I wouldn't use him outside of faction wars. Krisk, on my most wanted list, still, absolute beast. This is where my resolve is on the edge, where I'm saying don't pull shards, wait for the fusion. My resolve is on the edge because I really want a couple of voids. Voids are like my biggest want list, and Krisk is up there. Sick in the arena, disgusting. Great kind of anywhere as well. Decreased speed A1, ally protect, and big AoE hit at the same time, and heals. And then he's got that ability to provoke a full team. Increased defense, increased speed on himself. I think he's got extend buffs as well. Yeah, extend buffs as well here. He's in the world record clan boss team. There's actually 2 of them in it. It's just gross. Decreased attack and defense when he takes a hit as well. Big shields when you start a round. There's really nothing this guy is not like obscene in. So great champion. If you pull him, well done. If you pull him early, he will carry you through the whole game. Right, on to Skinwalkers then. Not you. Bloodhorn. Move on. Panthera, kind of okay. Got a bit of turn meter control, a bit of heal reduction. Okay for Fire Knight. I wouldn't go out my way to build her though. I think there's much better out there. Basher. His value has soared through the roof. Like, probably the highest value change I've seen in a while. Basher has just become top tier. Mainly because of this. Increase the cooldown of all the target skills by 2 turns. This is going to work against one of the new Doom Tower bosses, the Dragon, and I think most people will be using him there. The Dragon's got very disgusting skills, but they're on quite long cooldowns, and you can extend those cooldowns. So I think he's going to be used 3-turn cooldown on this. I think he'll be in everybody's team for it. Certainly if you're trying to try and run it on auto, I think you'll need him. Or need someone else that does something like him. There's only a few people that do this skill. He does it really well. Warlord does it really well, which we'll get onto in a bit. No one else does it really well. So I think he's going to get a lot of playtime. He's also great for this faction's faction wars. Weaken as well on an A1. Block buffs as well, which is great for waves for faction wars and waves for Doom Tower. But this guy, Doom Tower waves, faction war waves, the new boss in Doom Tower, I think he's going to be top tier. And he's awesome, by the way, for arena. Get him as your go second champion in the arena. He locks out everyone's abilities. Everyone's coming up with their weak source A1s, and you are laughing in their faces. Skinwalker, legendary. Coroner, great champion. Decreased defense, decreased attack. All champions with this are good. He's got turn meter control here. Yeah, great champion. If you pair him up with Maniab, he gets better as well. But yeah, great champ. But not my most wanted. He's decent, but not my most wanted. Right, let's get on to Orcs. Veteran. If you're early game, he could be your decreased attack champion for clan boss. Decent for it. Nothing else really in his kit is that good. I guess he's got this AoE block buffs, which could help you through faction wars, could help you through Doom Tower waves if you're struggling. It's actually a really strong skill. 50% of people are not going to get the buffs. The enemies still try and do all of their buffs. So it's actually pretty good. Increased speed in dungeons is okay. Good base defense. Huntress, I've never seen her used ever. Ripper Fist, terrible addition. Don't think he brings a lot. Let's get on to the epics. Best wave clearer in the game, Seer. All because of her A3. She rips buffs off of your team. To do that, you need 0 accuracy. If she rips buffs off of the enemies, you need accuracy. She can clear waves, no problem. And she's in end game teams. She's the best champion in Doom Tower to get you through waves, without a doubt. Like, not even close. There's no one even close. There's not a single champion remotely close. Like, she's up here. The next champion is probably like right down here. That's you got like champion, Seer. That's the difference. She's insane. 2-hack. I think his value might have just gone up a bit, again, because of his ability on his A1 to increase the cooldown of skills. He's got hard-hitting single-target abilities as well, which might be good against the Griffin. Does bring a decreased speed, does bring a chance to stun, and generally decent champion. He hits hard. I really like this champion, actually. Good AoE hits. Where's his AoE? His A2? This hits hard. It can be your arena nuker. Also does a bunch of stuff with turn meter. I really like him. Legendary Zen, Warlord, already top tier. His value just went up because of that same thing here with his ability to put all the target skills on cooldown. It's so good. If you use him in the arena for this same ability, you're locking out all of the enemy teams. This is the Platinum Reset champion's worst nightmare. Going against a Warlord and he activates his skill. Basically, anyone who has that happen will just exit that fight and then move on. That's how dangerous it is. If you get this happen to you, leave the fight. Go and get yourself, or get yourself a cup of tea, come back and see if you won. Really good. Also brings shields, block debuffs on his A2, which is really good, and a chance to increase buffs, debuff duration, on his A1. Really good. Fantastic champion. One of the best in the game. Angar, decent champion, one of the better HP-based champions. I do have him. I feel like he still just lacks a bit of a punch. He hits okay. If he hit a bit harder, I think he'd be in a lot more teams. He's just average weak source, borderline weak source hits. He does bring reflect damage. He's great for Fire Knight if you've got him and you're not using him. Puts reflect damage on your whole team. When you get hit, the Fire Knight shield takes a bunch of hits. Not for a lot of damage, but it takes a bunch of hits, which means you don't have to break through as many levels. He's got counterattack himself as well. He's brilliant against the Magma Dragon. I use him in my team for that. And he's pretty good in the arena. If you can get him to go with this ability, if he's your go second champion, provokes the whole enemy team, they all come at him with their A1s, and he's counterattacking them. So in that sense, he's decent. But I think there's people that perhaps do it as a go second unit a bit better. Okay, Demonspawn then. Demonspawn rares. What we got? Ifrit. Yikes. Marquis. Don't know if it's Marquis who hits hard. I think he might be the one who hits hard. Let me just check. If you're ever unsure if someone hits hard, you can come to hellhades.com, come in the membership, hover over, go in champion, look up, and you get to this page. It gives you a bit of a blurb about how we've graded people, and then just look them up. I feel like Marquis is someone people keep telling me about. Let me just check. He's got an A1 that's got a strong hit. His AoE is average. No, it's not him. It's not him. Okay, in that terms then, I mean, he's got an AoE sleep. Otherwise, he's kind of average. Okay. Fellhound, good champion. I don't know why they go so zoomed in on these dogs. Anyway, good champion, A1 AoE. He could be your campaign farmer, no problem. Actually, he can do like a 6-second campaign farm if you build him right. He brings block damage. He will cast this on the leader if there's no one that's low. So bear that in mind. And he's got reflect damage for the whole team. So for Fire Knight, he's good. For wave damage, he's good. Put him in a stun set. And for campaign farm, he's good. Malbranche. Malbranche, bomb champion. Maybe it's Malbranche is the good one. I know it's one of these weird ones. Strong, average, average. No, not you either. Bomb champion. Bomb's not in the meta right now. And I can't see it changing anytime soon. On to epics. Padma, strong champion. One of the better decrease attack champions in the game. You need it for clan boss. So if you're struggling for that role, she can do it. It's also an AoE ability, by the way. So if you're getting through waves, or if you're up against someone like the Ice Golem, she can come into a really good champion for that. Damage is based on her defense and a bit on her attack. Forget building it out of attack. Just build her as full defense. She'll become an absolute tank, a unit, and you'll be able to hurt people pretty well as well. Same with this one. AoE again, decrease accuracy. So she comes in really strong. I think she's best in Ice Golems and Clan Boss, but she can kind of come in anywhere for wave control and clearing. Also got this A3 here. Attacks one enemy, removes all buffs from the target and places them on this champion. If you're up against a Skull Crown in the arena and they're killing you, she comes in with the A3. She steals the unkillable buff that the Skull Crown's got, and she kills Skull Crown. Good anti-Skull Crown champion. Umbral, AoE block buffs, really strong in Doomtail waves, really strong in Faction Wars, really strong in the arena. Same for this ability here, AoE provoke, she becomes unkillable. I build mine actually with lifesteal gear so that she can take the hits, heal herself back up. When you get onto the next wave of enemies, she heals herself to full with the next AoE, and then she goes through the cycle again. Hard hitting as well, really good multipliers on her hits. She's defense based, build her as a tank, and build her crit rate up. You do need accuracy to land block buffs, and you do need accuracy to land your provokes. On to the legendaries then. We've got a couple here. Krutraxa. I think her value just went up as well with single target damage against the Griffin boss. But generally, hard hitter. Really hard hitter. Lots of damage. 4 hitter A1 ignores 50% defense. This is one of the hardest hitting A1s in the game. She can kill anyone with this ability. A2 places a weaken and gets an extra turn. So she basically one-shots someone with the A2. She then one-shots someone with the A1. Great in the arena for this ability. She kind of falls behind people like really the block revivers or the AoEers, because why sit one person down when you can sit down 4 people? Almost like AoE is a bit overtuned in the game, really. But she's one of the best single target hitters. And Ifwi, he does have the AoE. He also has a passive that anyone he kills doesn't revive. I've seen some people use him for Ice Golem to kill the 2 ads. I see some people use him in the arena. The trouble is, despite his massive base attack, he sits below the kind of strong tier arena nukers. He's kind of the next tier down. And the shame is, he's actually below someone like a Kale for damage. You know, so even though he's got this whopping great 1700 attack, multipliers aren't high enough to make the most use of it. He needs like an extra 0.2 or 0.3 on his multipliers, and all of a sudden this guy will see a lot more use. I really hope they do it, because he's one of the best looking champions in the game. He deserves a bit more love. Okay, let's move on. Undeads. Undead Hordes, what we got? Arbalester has actually got a really hard hitting ability if there's a load of debuffs on the enemy. One of the hardest, but for a rare, but it's pretty situational where you can do it. Otherwise, not much going for her. Doomscreech, really good rare. One of the few champions in the game, I think there's like maybe 2 or 3 that do this. Fills turn meter and places increased defense. Why is that good? Well, if you've got defense-based damage dealers, then this is your turn meter fill and your buffer for defense-based champions. Most people use Arbiter or Dwardrab or someone for like increase attack and increase turn meter, or Seeker. This guy does it for a defense-based champion. So not many do this. Also has got an AoE ability, put some shields out, it's okay, and decrease accuracy. But yeah, decent champion. Hollow, I mean, what a terrible champion. Seducer, kind of decent. AoE ability on his A2. Bit of decreased attack going on. It's got a nice 2-turn block buff, block debuffs. Not many champions who've got 2-turn block debuffs. Certainly, I don't think there's any other rares. Maybe like 1 or 2 other rares for your whole team. So that's why he's good. This is the best thing about him, especially if you're going up against like faction wars. He actually got me through stage 21 faction wars because of this 2-turn block debuffs. Yeah, decent for that. Stitch Beast. I mean, this is all he's about. He's got a nuke on his A3. No, not a nuke, sorry. He's got a turn meter drop on his A3. Otherwise, not much going on. Again, he's kind of good for boss fights. Like boss fights where you're trying to drop turn meter, okay, fine. Certainly in faction wars, if you're struggling to control the boss, drop turn meter, you weaken, and then you let your other members of your team do some work. But that's on, what, a 4-turn cooldown? It's kind of long. Don't know. It's average. The skeleton, or A1 block buffs, average, 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 weak source, weak source, weak source. Move on. Hold up, one more. The drowned bloat wraith. AoE fear. It's kind of good, but it's quite a low chance for it to land. AoE decreased defense, weak source version. It's okay. It's okay. You'd hope you'd got better. There's actually not that many decreased defense champions in this faction, though. Thinking about it. So it might be that you do bring him in because of that. Because a decreased defense is better than no decreased defense. And I think there's very few in this faction. So maybe he adds a bit of value because of that. There's not any. Even though there's a million undeads, there's not any voids. Crazy in the epics. Legendaries then. Sifi, one of the best in the game. Maybe the best in the game. Like all-round play. Certainly one of the best and most used arena champions. Very fast, brings a turn meter boost as well, plus a bunch of really strong buffs. Zaps people to sleep. Doesn't need accuracy for that. Don't worry about accuracy, guys. Doesn't need it. You're asleep. You're asleep. You're asleep. You're asleep. She doesn't care. She sleeps them all. She's got a single target revive as well, which is strong. Good champion. Really good. Partners up with Rotas to be disgusting. Super good. Necret also massively good. On my want list. Gets a lot of play in plat level arena reset stuff. Triple hitter here. Decrease attack. So it can come into a clan boss team as a decrease attack champion potentially. Ally attack here as well with people that have got certain buffs. Gets an extra turn if no enemies are killed. And in a lot of content, actually no enemies will be killed. So that's kind of cool. Ally protection, all of the best buffs in one move. Great. Puts that same crazy ability on someone at the start of a round. I think with this one. And then what's this one? Whenever an ally is attacked while under ally protection, places a shield on them as well. It's just like, what else do we need in this kit? When we were putting this guy on the website, it's like, we need more boxes. There's so many things going on. Great base stats as well. Eurost. So this is the guy that should be the next one. If you've already got yourself Thea, then Euros is the next guy on the list for Doom Tower. Pretty sure that's where I'm at. Let me just check that actually. Pretty sure he's next on my list. Is he? Start to get fragments, yeah. So we're getting a Void Legendary right now. I think this guy's actually pretty disgustingly good. He's got an A1, places shield. It increases based on number of poisons. A2, AoE, turn meter drop. If they got 1 or more poisons, decreased speed for 2 or more, and stun for 3 or more. So AoE stun, 100% chance to land. Wow. Pairing with this Rian the Conjurer that is also coming from Doom Tower, and he's got a chance to revive. Strengthen on all allies, ally protection on all allies. A3, 3-turn cooldown, very cool. And this is where the poisons come from. Whenever attacked, 50% chance, books to 75 of placing a poison. Whenever an ally is attacked while under strengthen, he puts them out there. You get a chance to provoke, which means the attacks come into him, which means more poison. Increases his max HP whenever an enemy receives damage from a poison. Up to 50% more HP. This guy looks cool. This guy looks cool. I think a lot of people that get him, if you can get him, and it's not easy, hard Doom Tower is, as it says, hard, but good champion. Really, really fun. Little Miss Annie, probably my favourite skin in the game still. Love the look of this champion. I think she will get more playtime now that we need a bunch of single target hitters for a new Doom Tower boss. Increase her own attack. Massive hits going on with the A1 and the A3. Passive that revives her. And then goes with a default skill. Oh, sorry, when revived, she attacks an enemy that killed this champion with a default skill. So revive her with someone else. She goes out there and nukes someone down. Pretty cool. And yeah, a bunch of turn meter manipulation and stuff going on as well. Really fun champion. She doesn't get a lot of playtime right now, but she's one of the hardest hitter single target champions. Okay, on to Dark Elves. Dark Elf rares. Here she is, guys. The only rare people want because she's ridiculous. This is a nuke. It also drops turn meter by 100%, and it only needs 70% crit rate to land. What else do you want from a skill? This is a legendary level skill. 4-hitter on an A1 as well. Very few champions have got 4-hit A1s and heal reduction. What are those two things good for? Finite. Both of them. And they've tapped her AI so that she now does this all the time. There's a finite shield up. No other champion has got that service. No other champion has got an AI specific to a piece of content like she has. AoE hit as well here. She's just ridiculous. So good. Paragon, Mr. Cheese himself. If you're struggling with Spider, 15, 16, 17, 18, or 19, he's your man. Just build him very low HP. Only build him at like level 30 or 40 or whatever. Spiderlings come and get on him. Make sure he's got 150 speed. Or maybe it's 200 speed. Check out my video on it anyway. But so easy. Spider becomes easy. It's not quick. It's still long. But he just cheeses your way through the Spider. You can also cheese your way through campaign final boss, which a lot of people do. Retainer. He retains a lot of useless abilities. Eviscerator. Rubbish. Painkeeper. Decent. Only really used massively in like budget unkillable teams. As I said, pair her with a Man-Eater and job done. Outside of that unkillable setup, she's still kind of good. Got a reduced cooldown skill A3. She's got a bit of a heal A2. And a bit of self-turn meter fill A1. It's average. But because of the unkillable stuff that people have worked out, she becomes high priority. Harvester, average. Onto the epics. We've got some all great ones here. Lure, hard hitter, ignores, decreases turn meter and ignores shield and block damage buffs. Great on the A3 for a single target. Triple hit AoE on her A2. It hits hard as well. Each crit heals this champion as well. That's kind of like a side thing, but she can hit really hard with this ability. And like a secondary AoE here on her A1. But mainly about nuking people down. Arena champion, finite champion. Very good. Sylar, brilliant champion. Such a turn meter manipulator. Decreases enemy speed. Massive decrease of enemy turn meter. She's got decreased accuracy. Got 2 AoE skills, which are great for stun sets. Speed in faction trips as well. I've used her in a lot of Spider teams. She's great for Doom Tower waves if you're trying to get control. Great for faction wars for this faction. Good champ. Madame Cerise, the best arena champion in the game. All because it is A3. Cleanses all the buffs from all enemies. Places the 2 most detrimental debuffs out there. Decrease attack and decrease defense. Goodbye enemy team. You're dead. On to legendaries then. Blind Seer. Actually, since a buff, really strong. Block debuffs, shield, full team revive with block damage on it. Triple hit. I don't love that it's at random. If this was not at random, she'd be even better. Because it removes her from being able to be used in someone like Agref, where I think her kit is like perfect for it, apart from this, the random bit. But also a chance to decrease turn meter as well. Each hit, 30% chance of decreasing the enemy turn meter by 15%. She becomes one of the better turn meter decreases in the game. So because of this, becomes a 40% chance each hit. Get a couple of these away. Very nice for faction wars. Very nice for Fire Knight. Yeah, solid champ. Lydia, I mean, you can't just pull her, unfortunately, but she is brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant champion. AoE decrease defense and weaken. She also puts 2 of the best buffs on your team at the same time. The rest of her kit's kind of like, fine. A passive is also extremely good. So she blocks people reviving, and if she's alive when someone tries to revive, then she revives your team. If she's dead when people try to revive, she revives herself. She doesn't even care about block revive. She just does it anyway. She's disgusting. Visix needs a buff. Get this champion as a login reward. Just average to bad. Okay, Night Revs. Night Revs, who we got? Renegade, good champion. She's got that ability to reduce the cooldown of your skills. She's used in a lot of speed running for endgame content. Basically, you do your big hits. She goes last. She resets your abilities. And guess what you do next? Your big hits. That's what she's all about. Daywalker. He's got a hard-hitting ability, I think. Revives his champion and attacks all enemies after being killed. It cannot be a crit. I think he hits hard. Maybe I'm getting him confused with someone else. So many champions in the game now. Let's have a quick look. Daywalker, godlike, strong. Yeah. So all of his hits hit like crazy. But it's all single targets. No, I don't know. I mean, all of his hits hit like crazy. Just give him a try. I've never actually used him, so I don't really know. Centurion, average. Move on. Not good enough. Right, onto the epics. Faceless, really, really strong. Becoming stronger, I think, with the way the meta's going, that they're trying to push us towards using single target champions. The single target one shot of any champion in the arena, bam, done. Sit down anybody. Ignores defense. Ignores shields. Ignores block damage. Who are we up against? Krisk, I don't care. You're dead. Are we up against, I don't know, Duchess? I don't care. You are dead. Really strong for that. I wish he'd show his face. I wish his skin was not so terrible, but he does have a purpose. Skullcrown did a video recently. Very cool champion. Really strong. AoE, massive nukes. One of the hardest to hit in epics in the game. And great for the arena because she becomes unkillable when she drops below 20% health, which means she's going to get a go unless they control that type of ability. Really, I mean, like, I'm disgustingly strong for an early to mid-game arena champion. Golden Reaper speeds you up, decrease attack AoE, decent champion. I never see her being used really. I don't think she's as good as some of the other speed up champions, but if you're lacking a decreased attack and you need it because you're getting nuked, then she comes in and does a bit of clutch ability here, and she does have a chance to decrease the cooldown of a random skill, random person, random skill. It's average. So Whisper then used to be pretty decent when Relentless could proc extra turn. Doesn't work that way anymore, which brings her value down a lot. She's quite a hard-hitting single target champion. She needs quite a lot of setup to really get going. If there are people throwing other debuffs out there and she starts coming in, then she can cycle through a lot of turns and do a lot of damage. But honestly, I probably wouldn't level her. In the current state of the game, I probably wouldn't level her. Solus actually hits hard. People don't realise it. It's got a hard-hitting AoE ability here. Defense-based champion. Got some stuns. Got a really good kit. Provokes. Great for the Magma Dragon. Great for the arena. Certainly, if you've got a go second team, he could come in as a massive unit and do a lot of damage. Hedgie, unique in the game. Goes first in the arena. Build him as a nuke Hedgie. Can build him as a control Hedgie. Pretty disgusting champion, really. And on my want list. Whirling Frost King, average to bad. He does bring in a team strengthen and increased defense, which is like a really strong defensive-based buffs. AoE, weak source. A1, chance to freeze, okay. He's just like the okay champion. If you get him early game, you play him in the arena early game, well, you don't want to fight him again. You don't want to fight against him early game in the arena. I also don't want to fight with him early game in the arena. But put him in your arena defense early, and you'll win a bunch of fights. Okay, on to the Dwarves. What have we got here? Bulwark, straight out, just a clan boss champion. I guess you could use him now against the Frost Spider. You could use his HP burn if you've got someone who does spread debuffs against normal Spider. throw the HP burn out first, then someone spreads that debuff so that all of the spiderlings becomes really good. But generally, he's just in clan boss for a weaken HP burn, and more importantly, when he takes a hit, he's got a chance to extend all debuffs on the enemy. Painsmith, not much going on here, guys. Move on. Dildal, actually pretty good. Decreased speed A1, AoE decreased accuracy is good against almost all boss fights if you're trying to avoid all of those debuffs. And then a decreased defense, which you do need against the bosses or some of the harder stuff for faction wars. Kurzad, the savior of the arena, he was haloed to be. It does bring decreased defense, weak source, and increased accuracy to your team. That's big. It's big in Doom Tower, it's big in faction wars, it's big in the arena if you are struggling for accuracy numbers. On to the epics. Runekeeper is actually on my want list. I think he looks very cool. Full cleanse here and heal on his A3. Increase attack and turn me to fill on his A2. Very good. If you're doing like a HP burn strat with Ultimate Gaelic, he comes in as a good go before him champion. Leech as well. I think he's decent. I think he would be a good epic to pick. Birdle Fellhammer, only really useful in Fire Knights. Can't see him used outside of that. Gala Longbraids, almost my go-to as one of my first picks for this faction's level 21 faction wars. Okay outside of that, like ignores some defense here. She can nuke pretty hard in the arena, but so weak in terms of her defense, she's hard to keep alive. Ragnar, decent addition to this faction, I'd say. Decreased defense and weaken is good on boss fights. So is Leech, and it's got some sort of shield stuff going on here. He does try and kill himself a lot, and he does this. He kills himself a lot, which makes him quite hard to use. But once you nail that, he's a fun champ. Okay, the only legendary here, we've got Tormund, great arena champion, decent outside of the arena. Main thing is his passive. He freezes people up whenever they try and do anything. Any of their abilities, he's like, nope, frozen. Did you try something? You're frozen. Did you try and move? You're frozen. So yeah, this is kind of disgusting. Also got a chance to freeze on an A1. He also hits freaking hard if you get HP burn and freeze on the enemy before he goes with this A2. Becomes one of the hardest hitting A2s in the game, believe it or not. But it's a lot of setup to have a single target damage dealer do stuff like this. Does bring a bunch of buffs on his A3. Again, a bunch of it is about setup. So AoE places block buffs and heal reduction for two turns if they've got freeze. Again, based on setup. Places provoke if they don't have freeze. Decreases the cooldown of a random skill for each ally by 1 turn for every enemy under both freeze and HP burn. I mean, if you can set that up, it's like he becomes ridiculous. He becomes OP, but it's very difficult to get all of these things going on. Lastly, then, Shadowkin. I don't know if we've got any, have we? Oh, we've got a couple. Fanatic. I did try this guy on the test server. He brings a decreased defense. He doesn't hit that well. He's kind of weak source. I wouldn't bother. And Aboro actually is pretty cool. So decent damage hitting abilities, decreased defense. Will attack all enemies instead if the target's under 4 or more debuffs. So if you can get a bunch of debuffs out there before she goes with this, it's a great ability. And she also places increased crits on herself, then attacks someone, places perfect bows as well. Cool. Pretty okay passive. One of the better ones of this faction. But still, I feel like there's more to come for this faction. If she's the best, we need better, is what I'd say. And we've got no legendaries here. So there you go, guys. That is all of the Void champions in a nutshell. Good luck if you're pulling over this weekend, but remember my warning at the start of the video. Only pull if you are the most impatient person in the world, or if you specifically are just like not going to get this fusion coming around the corner. I've been Hell Hades. I will see you later.